70,000 years ago, a small group of humans walked out of Africa. They had no map, no compass, no boats, no roads, no knowledge of what was on the other side of the horizon. They just walk. And somehow, over the next 60,000 years, their descendants ended up everywhere. Every continent, except Antarctica. Every climate on Earth, from the frozen Arctic to the depths of tropical rainforests to the driest deserts to small islands in the middle of vast oceans. The question is not whether this happened. The archaeological record is clear. The question is how. How did a species with no technology, no navigation instruments, no written language, and no maps manage to colonize an entire planet? The answer is one of the most remarkable stories in human history, and it starts not with courage or ambition, but with something far more ordinary: food. Ancient humans did not wake up one morning and decide to explore the world. They followed resources. When the animals they hunted moved, they moved. When drought dried up a water source, they found another. When a valley became too crowded, a group split off and moved to the next valley. No single journey was dramatic. No single generation knew they were part of something enormous. Each group was simply solving the immediate problem in front of them, finding enough to eat, finding water, finding shelter from the cold or the heat. But across hundreds of generations, those small movements added up to something extraordinary. Researchers who model ancient human migration have found something consistent. When you simulate a population moving just a few kilometers per year, following resources, avoiding obstacles, slowly expanding the edges of known territory, you can cross from Africa to Australia in under 10,000 years. A few kilometers per year for 10,000 years. That is how you colonize a planet. But food and water explain movement across connected land. They don't explain the islands, because ancient humans didn't just cross continents, they crossed water. They reached islands that required open ocean crossings, sometimes out of sight of land, in boats made from materials that leave no archaeological trace. Australia was reached at least 65,000 years ago. At that time, sea levels were lower than today, but there was still a minimum ocean crossing of at least 90 kilometers of open water required to get there. This was not accidental. You cannot drift to Australia. The currents don't allow it. Someone built a boat, loaded it with people, and crossed intentionally. The Pacific Islands were reached even later, beginning around 3,500 years ago, by the Polynesian peoples in what is now recognized as the greatest maritime expansion in human history. They sailed thousands of kilometers across open ocean in double-hulled canoes, navigating by stars, waves, wind patterns, bird behavior, and the color of the water. No instruments, no charts, just accumulated knowledge of the ocean so precise that Polynesian navigators could detect the presence of an island they couldn't see yet by reading subtle changes in wave patterns from hundreds of kilometers away. This was not primitive. This was a navigation system of extraordinary sophistication, built not from technology, but from generations of careful observation and the disciplined transmission of knowledge from teacher to student. But let's go back to the beginning, because before boats, before island crossings, before the Pacific, ancient humans had to figure out how to cross something even more fundamental. Different environments. Moving from tropical Africa into the Middle East is not just a change of location. It is a change of ecosystem. Different plants, different animals, different diseases, different temperatures, different rainfall patterns, different foods. Every time ancient humans moved into a new environment, they had to solve a completely new set of survival problems from scratch, without a manual, without anyone who had done it before, and they did it repeatedly. Every time, ancient humans reached Siberia, one of the coldest environments on Earth, at least 45,000 years ago. To survive there, they needed to invent or adapt technologies for cold weather that had never existed before. Layered clothing, insulated shelters, methods for storing food through long winters, techniques for hunting animals that were different from anything their African ancestors had encountered. They figured all of it out by observation, by trial and error, by the slow accumulation of knowledge passed down through generations of people living in conditions their great-grandparents had never seen. The crossing from Siberia into the Americas happened during a period when lower sea levels exposed a land bridge, Beringia, connecting what is now Russia to what is now Alaska. Ancient humans walked across it, probably following the herds of large animals that also used the corridor. Within a few thousand years of entering the Americas, humans had reached the southern tip of South America, another journey of roughly 15,000 kilometers across two continents. Some researchers believe they moved along the coastlines, using boats to supplement overland travel. Others believe they They moved through interior corridors that opened as glaciers retreated. The debate continues. What is not debated is the speed. By geological standards, it was almost instant. Now here is the part that most people never think about. All of this happened without anyone knowing it was happening. There was no human civilization watching this migration and recording it. There were no historians. There were no maps being drawn. There were no records being kept. Every group that moved was simply living, making decisions about where to find food tomorrow, choosing which direction to walk in the morning, deciding whether the land on the other side of the mountain was worth exploring. None of them knew they were crossing continents. None of them knew they were part of a species slowly claiming an entire planet. They were just trying to survive the day, the season, the year, and yet the cumulative result of all those ordinary daily decisions made by millions of individuals over tens of thousands of years was the complete human colonization of Earth. No plan, no leader, no map, just hunger, curiosity, and the ancient human refusal to stay in one place when there might be something better on the other side of the horizon. You carry that refusal in you right now. It is older than civilization, older than language. It is the reason you are here at all. If you want to know, you know what to do.